Hi, this is Zak Mir with a review of the Bitcoin Treasury stocks on Sunday, the 27th of July. That obviously includes companies which have thrown in Ethereum and other exotic delights, but we're just calling it the Bitcoin Treasury sweep for today's review. We're starting off with Bluebird, but actually looks, well, you'll see that it turns out to be one of the best looking charts at the moment. We've had four or five bounces for the RSI at and above neutral 50, so that's a leading indicator on the upside. Looks as though we're in a mid-move consolidation ahead of a move to the upside. We've been looking for 2.2 pence for quite some time. We've narrowly missed out on it in June. I suppose we're looking for that now by the end of August, and looking for that while we're above the previous target there around 1.05 pence. 50 and 200 day lines both rising, and as I said, the price action and the chart pattern looking quite positive at the moment. On to Coinsilium, which has raised money again, this time I think at 6 pence. We just check the recent news, and in fact, £5 million on Thursday. And we've had the company raising money for the recent past, at least £3 million there back at the beginning of the month, etc., etc. In terms of the chart, we've been looking for the shares to have a revival soon, i.e., potentially the first serious place in the recent past has been the 200-day line there, which is around 6.75 pence. So obviously we closed below that on Friday, given the placing news. In terms of levels in the near term, we've got June support around 5.5 pence. The interesting part here is that the RSI is at 38, even with all the losses that we've had, the pullback from 80 pence plus. So that does suggest that 5.5 pence is likely to be tested, and that may offer traders an opportunity there. Otherwise, we're back to the May support area between 3 and 4 pence. In terms of if we have a momentum move, then we would need to see the shares either deliver an end of day close above the 200-day line, which is rather difficult to see at the moment, or breaking that resistance line there at 7 pence, which has capped the price since the end of June. So breaking that June resistance line at 7 pence would be the shortcut to move to the upside, and then potentially we'd retest the recent broken support around 12 pence. So levels there basically 4, 5.5, 7, and then on the upside up to 12 pence at the late July or mid to late July support zone. If you're looking for another indicator on the upside, it would be that we have an end of day close for the RSI back above neutral 50, which we haven't really done properly since the beginning of the month. Moving on to another situation which is certainly in focus at the moment with a recent fundraise. I think it was £10 million raised for Cel AI, and certainly an interesting situation with the fundraise at the end of last month, as you can see there on 30th of June. Current situation is that we are trying to find support at the floor of that rising trend channel there from August last year. It's around the 0.19 level, so ideally we stay around that zone. RSI has just been near to the oversold level at 30, so it looks as though there's a chance of the shares finding support here. Otherwise, a little bit lower, 0.16 April support might need to be tested. If you're looking for a momentum signal, it's either and it's probably the best one at the moment is either an end of day close back above the 200-day line, 0.22, or to wait for the RSI to get back above the neutral 50 level versus 34 at the moment. The 0.22, the initial resistance, and then after that, the late June support at 0.25, the levels on the upside, 0.16 on the downside. Didn't remember initially that GSTechnologies has gone into the Bitcoin situation, the Bitcoin frame. Here we've got, I suppose, a situation that looks rather like the Cel AI one that looks like that we've had most of the downside, but just trying to take out recent levels. The level here, the November support zone towards a penny. Obviously, in these situations, there can be a slight overshoot. So the old September resistance, 0.97. But it looks as though we are approaching the buying zone for this stock. And the alternative is either just to wait for the RSI to get back above neutral 50 versus 38 at the moment. You can see that in the recent past, we've had failures in the low 50s, which is not normally a great thing to happen on a situation The positive, though, is that the 200-day line there at 1.47 pence is still rising, and that should hopefully drag the share price back up sooner rather than later. Moving along to Panther, and here obviously it's got an existing business as well, so that sort of helps, and maybe that's one of the keys here, that you've got companies which are combined with Bitcoin Treasury Strategy. Here we had the big spike in June. The shares went up towards £1.10. We're back near the 200-day line now, which is actually a good place to be, and we've got the 50-day line rising, RSI above neutral 50 as well. So the assumption here is that we will stay above that 50-day line and potentially then make progress back to 80 pence as a best case scenario target over the next few weeks. Moving along to the daddy, or the godfather of the Bitcoin Treasury Brigade, obviously Smarter Web, still got a market cap of over £500 million, which is obviously quite remarkable. The current situation is that we've been eyeing up the June support there around 185. We did actually temporarily break below it to down to £1.72 on Wednesday, but then bounced back. So now we have a chance that we've got a near-term low in for the shares, obviously barring attempts to raise even more money for buying Bitcoin Treasury. RSI below neutral 50, which is a weaker point, but we do have that support line projection there, the red one, to £1.62. So hopefully that would be a near-term floor for the stock, a support line projection from the beginning of June. The other point to note is that in the second half of the week, we have had a bit of a cork and water price action. So the shares dipping down and then closing back near the top of the range. We did that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that does suggest that we're going to have a little go on the upside, hopefully towards that red resistance line there from last month, maybe up to £2.80. Even if we then pull back again, that would be the best case scenario at the moment. Otherwise, any dips, if we do get them, or rug pulls towards £1.65, could be regarded as a buying opportunity. But the ideal scenario here is that we have a decent end of day close above the 50-day line there at £2.21 Monday, Tuesday, and we have the RSI going back above neutral 50 to give us a target towards £2.80 for the shares. I think what would be negative and rather painful would be an end of day close back below that £1.85 June support. Onto a situation where we've got an interesting, well, apart from the change of the name, which just keeps you on your toes, Satsuma. Here we've had a situation where the shares are obviously trying to regroup after the pullback at the floor of that rising trend channel there from back in March. We tried to break that resistance line there, and we did that temporarily on Thursday. Still a bit of a struggle, but the main thing here, I suppose, is to remain above Thursday's low at 5.7 pence. We can do that. Then we could just say that we're in a range between, let's say, 5 and 10 pence over the near term, and still haven't broken down in terms of the recovery there since the end of the week. On to Tiger, and here a better picture, and similar, I suppose, in a way to Satsuma, but we've had a decent weekly close above the 50-day moving average. We just need to break that resistance line there from the beginning of the month at 0.21 pence or 0.22 pence on an end-of-day close basis, and then we could get a ride up to the upper 20s over the course of August. On to another situation which has kept the bulls guessing, and that is London Bitcoin Company. Here we've got, I suppose, the last fig leaf of support there from that May support line projection. That's heading towards 7.5 pence. So hopefully that will be tested Monday, Tuesday. There is an uptrend line in the RSI window, which again needs to kick in towards 7.5 pence in terms of the share price. And then hopefully that would give us, while we're above 7.5, a move up to 10 pence plus. But as we said, this situation now looking rather difficult for the bulls. Last two are up next. First one is Vaultz Capital, and here a bit of a Valerium, or rather not a Valerium, but a London Bitcoin company type chart. Also quite reminiscent of the Coinsilium chart. We've got the 200-day line here at around the 5.5 pence level, and I suppose given the lay of the land and recent behaviour, and given the way that the May resistance is around 6p, a test of that 5.5p to 6p zone is probably in the offing, unless we get a breakback for the RSI back above neutral 50 versus 41 at the moment. In terms of the upside, if we can stay above the 200-day line, then the 50-day moving average, currently at 12.75p, would make a reasonable target in terms of a bounce for the shares. Finishing off with a stock which is also trying to find support and not so far doing it, Vault Ventures. It's interesting that the June low there was around 0.015, and we're at 0.016 at the moment, so presumably there will be a test of that, and then maybe that would offer some people a sensible entry point if they're not already in the stock. The other point to note is that the RSI has been back below neutral 50 since the end of last month, and basically that unless that gets back above the neutral 50 level, then we are looking at a situation which could still drift. That's it from me today. More updates over the course of the next week.